Howdy, folks. Oh, that cuts off real harsh. Dang it, that's loud. I'll have to fix that. Hi, welcome to the Wednesday Chat Fest of chatty goodness. Chat. Am I coming on through live? I think I've got my audio. Should be clear. Welcome. It's been another week since we last spoke, and I've been pretty busy with stuff, just doing stuff. Trying to take care of my mom, although tomorrow I will be getting my second COVID shot, so that's good. I will be immunized from the dreadful coronavirus. So that'll be, I'm not looking forward to that because I hear that there are complications with the second one. And I have a friend who's 80, I want to say he's 84 years old now. And he called me one day and he said, "Hey, John, can you call me back in 5 hours to make sure I'm still alive?" I said, "Sure." "Joe, did you just get your COVID shot, your second one?" It's like, yeah, I just did. But I feel really crap. I was like, well, the second one is probably the bad one. So, I called him back 5 hours later. He was like, "Oh, I feel much better. I feel way better." So yeah, so the second one might be kind of scary. The first one I didn't have any reaction to, so I'm knock on wood. Second one will be fine. Hi, Pete Toll. You just got your very first camera today. That is awesome. That is sweet. So the topic of the day I threw up there was, do old filmmakers envy the young? And I was watching this video yesterday, and they're talking about, Dr. Seuss, and they're talking about one of his books and how the young have this, when you're young and stupid, let's put it that way, you have, everything's possible. Anything's possible. You have a vivid imagination. You can imagine all sorts of things. And that's sort of what the Dr. Seuss was, the story about the Mulberry Street. And the father, I guess, is telling the son, don't go out there telling lies. Don't go exaggerating. Just tell me what happened on Mulberry Street. But the kid's like, I'm thinking, he just imagines all these amazing things that happened on Mulberry Street. But it got me thinking about, like, well, as a filmmaker, or as a creative person now, do I envy the young and how back then it felt like everything was so open? There's so many different possibilities. And the weird thing is, I don't know, maybe part of being a creative when you grow, making your job creative, a creative job, means that you don't envy. I mean, I don't think I do. Like, so I was tossing this idea around my head, like, why do it seems that the older you get as an engineer or video engineer, the crankier and more like annoyed with people you get. Like, I think as far as like a group of people in a film set or a film in the film industry, the crankiest people in the film industry are sound engineers. They're always so cranky. Like, if you go to a sound engineering forum or message board, incredibly cranky folks. really cranky folks. If you go to hi, Bad Karma, how you doing? Yeah, if you go to, it's the folks that have been around tend to be really cranky. Now, maybe they're cranky right now because, the way society has shut us all down and kept us all inside for a long time, so we haven't had a chance to go out and do anything. So they're all cranky anyway. But it seems like the more experience you get, the crankier you are, the more hostile you become to newbies. Like, so one of the things I started 3D printing. 3D printing is one of the big hobbies I've gotten into recently. In fact, my 3D printer is going right now. Although I put the silent board on so you don't hear it as well. So that's an improvement. But like the older folks on the 3D forums, 3D printing forums, are really cranky. Like, somebody puts down some bed glue on their table for adhesion for the 3D print, and then 10 other people tell them they're doing it wrong. And you should just reset your Z steps, and if you did it right, if you knew what you're doing, you wouldn't have to do any of that stuff. And it's just like there's so much crankiness on these things. So I'm wondering if, like, the older you get, the more you're annoyed by people that are coming to the field that are young and new and fresh, and they don't realize all the limitations that you obviously realize, and that you're like, so maybe that crankiness is sort of an envy toward the new folks. I haven't thought about this all the way through yet, so I'm throwing it out there as kind of a thought, something to think about and talk about. And I'm wondering, I don't know, like I've seen it sometimes on film forums or film boards, although there are some film boards on Facebook that I used to be a huge fan of going online and talking about filmmaking. That's how Filmmaker IQ got started, was through forums, and we got kicked off of MySpace. Long story. I've gone through it a couple times. If you can ask if you want to go through it again, but I've gone through it several times. But I've always been a frequent visitor to online discussion boards. But man, like there's some Facebook forums I had to stop because I was finding myself getting so annoyed by the questions. I mean, there's the factor of like the help desk factor where you can just get so annoyed by the same question over and over and over and over again, and and obviously the people asking aren't meaning to be annoying. They're not being dicks, but the accumulation of 1,000 different little cuts drives you batty. And I mean, I know it just from reading some of my YouTube comments. But hey, sorry. So just, and I'm just responding to some of your chats here coming through here. Scott Gamble, these are just kind of our chat sessions. I open up with a topic to kind of get everybody on board and talking, and just kind of get my voice going and get my thoughts streaming. And then basically ask me anything. We can just chat and talk about all kinds of stuff. But yeah, vine por el fondo de Machu Picchu. I don't speak Spanish quite well, but I understand a couple things there. But that is Machu Picchu behind me. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, so and Omar says the new folks are more talented than the old folks. Let me put your guy up there. Hold on, I can actually do this. Let's see if I can do this right. Send. See if that pokes up. Did it work? Yeah. The new folks are more talented than the old folks. The new folks are more talented than the older ones. Older folks are just more interesting, so they get annoyed by us. That's it, folk. So I was going to counter that by saying, like as a creative, there's a couple things. I think being a creative, you never lose that sense of openness of what's possible. In fact, I feel like today, at my ripe age of almost 30, I have to think about this. How old am I? Almost 38. I'm almost 38. I'm 37 still. I feel like right now more is possible than ever before. Like if I was to go back to like when I started my business, I was starting my business as a freelancer videographer in 2003 is when I started. So that was, almost 18 years ago. Like today I feel infinitely more competent. Like I can do way more. I have infinite more confidence in my abilities, and I'm so excited like what I can do today versus what I could do when I first started. And I also feel like my taste is infinitely better. Like my actually perfected my ability to light a shot, but to know what looks good, and to keep striving for that level of quality. So I feel like that's improved. Although I think what happens is when you get on these forums with really young folks, is you see basically, I think what part of it is also you see a lot of mistakes that you were making when you were young, and there's a really great, if you watch, I know it's an actor whose name shall not be mentioned, but the movie Big Kahuna with Kevin Spacey, and at the very end of the movie they take this song called Everyone Should Wear Sunscreen. And it's a song that was written it was an arrangement made for the 1990 graduation. Anyway, never mind. But anyhow, in this thing it says nostalgia or advice is a form of nostalgia. Basically, if you're giving someone advice, you're basically reminiscing about your past, what you learned and what you figured out what was right and wrong. And so that's why you're giving advice to somebody as in any field. And part of me is like, if you don't take the advice, you're basically invalidating my experience. But yeah. Anyhow, yeah. Nick Manny says I renovated my place. Yeah, we redid this for the new year, so this is brand new. Scott Campbell says this comment must be from a young kid. It's when I guess it's the other side of it too is if you're young you don't know what you don't know. So when you get older, when you get more experience, let's maybe get rid of age. In your inexperience, you don't know what you don't know. But when you get more experience, then you realize, okay, what were the choices I made here? Like when I first started 3D printing, I had no idea what I'm doing. I'm like, well, I'll just hook it all together and print it out. And now I've got Octoprint. I've got my Raspberry Pi running. I'm running multiple time-lapse cameras. I'm studying like the string, I'm learning so much, and I'm becoming much more advanced, much more, understanding of the process. So the same thing with like filmmaking is once you get older, once you become more familiar with what works, what doesn't work, what you can do, what you can't do, what matters even, like I feel like so many times what young filmmakers do is they get overly focused and overly excited about an aspect of the film that doesn't really matter that much when they're missing the bigger pictures. And I think the bigger picture is always the big problem. Anyhow. There you go. Steve Guy says, you used to have to really know your stuff to get anything done. Now, not so much. And I agree with that. Oops. Oh, the thing is getting stuck again. I think it's because I'm not on this thing live here. Yeah, the other thing. It's like, and that thing bothers me. So one of the topics we talk about, the two topics that kind of annoy me, that I think I go against the grain as far as YouTube is concerned, and one of them is letterboxing bars. I'm very pro letterboxing bars. Obviously on YouTube you can get away with not having letterboxing bars, but like professionally you really should have letterboxing bars. But that's also coming from a point of experience of like the reason why letterboxing bars are important is because I worked in broadcast television, and broadcast television only takes a certain kind of aspect ratio. And nowadays Amazon, Netflix, they're also very limited as far as what aspect ratio or what resolution you give. You have to feed them a 16:9 resolution. You can't be feeding them all these odd numbers in order to get your aspect ratio. But YouTube, throw whatever you want on YouTube. You can throw all kinds of aspect ratios and resolutions on YouTube, and YouTube will take it just fine. So something like that. The other thing that bristles me is the whole 29.97 thing. I'm a pro 29.97. If you're in America, if you're shooting NTSC video, you must shoot the oddball frame rate, the odd numbered frame rate. Like people, I don't shoot 23.976 because that's terrible. I shoot only true 24.00. It's like if you're in the States, if you don't feed it 23.976, you're gonna have a bad time. Of course, nowadays, because technology's gotten so much better, it's not life and death. It used to be life and death, not anymore so much. But yeah, so you guys, I guess the topic's starting to get some people excited, fired up here. Yeah, Let's Talk Movies says, honestly, I find myself only really teaching more and more in person on set than answering questions online. It's more personable. Learning by doing is so much more productive than watching the elders. I agree with that. In fact, before the pandemic was going to hit, I actually was signed on to teach at a community college. I filled out my paperwork, and then the week after, everything got shut down. So I almost got a chance to do some live teaching and to actually get paid for it. Yay! Unlike YouTube, which here's some pennies. Here you go. That's what YouTube gives us. But I feel like I've hit the rope as far as what I can do online. I really feel like that. Like I go through. I browse Reddit. I have Facebook. I'm looking at many forums and all that. And there's very rarely a time do I say I want to answer that question. Like I don't have that help desk mentality anymore. I don't. I've lost it. Like I'm frustrated. It's like, either go look it up yourself. I'm not going to Google it for you. I don't know. I just don't have any. I don't have any patience for it, I guess. Let's see here. There you go. Being able to use new technology does not equal talent. Yeah. That's the other thing. Like the feeling that I have, I feel like when I was in my early 20s, I was able to pick up new software really quickly. Now it's like I have to slog. Like I have to all right, we're going to do this. We're going to learn. So one thing I learned recently, we're going to learn Fusion 360 because I wanted to do some printing. Okay, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to force myself to learn it because now it feels like now I have, like I don't have much time anymore. Like when you were like 17, you could whittle away an afternoon just playing with a computer program, learning everything about it. But now it's like I have to schedule some time to learn software, and then I would have to be doing, I would have to be doing that software and not learning something else or doing something else. And right now I'm not super busy, although, I am taking care of my mom, which takes up a lot of my time. I've got some few projects. I got a video that I've got to produce for Filmmaker IQ. I've just shot some B-roll for it. It's how to set up a streaming, kind of like what we're doing here, but a little more advanced, a little more of a philosophical thing, like how to set up the philosophy of streaming, or at least the basics, the comprehensive stuff of it. It's a sponsored video too, so I got some gear out of that. But working on that, it's like I could do that, or I could, go and watch a movie or watch a TV show or something, versus learning the software. There we go. Punk Rachmaninoff says, screenwriter with 10 plus years experience. I don't envy the next generation. In fact, I will help them selflessly. Good for you. Don't envy the rich, white, riddled with white privilege either. I think they suck. Yep. There we go. It's all square pixels. They've got it easy these days. I know. It's all square pixels. It's all the, like anytime a computer gets involved, it's like whatever. Don't need to worry about aspect ratio. Don't need to worry about any of that stuff. I envy a lot of people. I wish I had all of the skills. You can have all the skills. It's really more all the time. Like if you had more time, and that's the thing. It's like the function is, if you had the money, you could buy you would have the free time, and then you could do whatever you wanted. But if you need to actually get the money so you can have the free time, that kind of thing. There we go. I worked on institutional videos where they used Photoshop layers to fake a widescreen ratio. Then I started editing 69 projects that would not use bars at all, and the client has to put them back. Yeah. It's kind of funny because like I know there's people that the comment I got a lot was like, oh well, John, you need to get yourself a 21 by 9 screen, and then you'll understand why you need to not use letterbox bars. And I'm like, why do I need to buy some equipment that is not standard spec to understand that your use of non-standard spec equipment requires me to make non-standard spec content? What? I need to buy equipment to understand that your equipment is not designed to run the standard. Wait a second. Hold on. It's like whatever. It's literally just people who spent their money on the TVs just upset the fact that the image doesn't take up the whole screen. Oh, it's the same damn thing. That's what you get for buying a 21 by 9 TV, man. You got to be able to push that little button that says full wide. Oh well. There you go. Stephen Guy says sometimes it's a good idea to limit your tool set only to help you focus on the big stuff. Yeah, that's, isn't that, I feel like, if anything, that's the problem with modern Hollywood. If anything, is that the tool set is too broad, and that, like let's give an example, like Patty Jenkins might be a weird example, but like the Wonder Woman movies or something like that. It's like there's no director, really not a whole lot of director flair in these movies because they're all produced by VFX houses. I mean, the tool set's all there. Anything you want, there it is. So every director, wants to do an insane one shot that goes through whatever. It goes through the scene. They all kind of start becoming the same visually because it's really, the director does direct the scene, but you got all these VFX houses, saying, here's what we think the shot should look like. And the director just can say yay or nay, or can add some input. I almost feel like the visual style, I could pick one of you guys out of the chat and drop you into a Marvel movie and it would look It wouldn't look any different than what they make. I don't think the director's personality in a big budget VFX heavy crazy movie. I don't think the director's visual input is that big, that difference. Now I think where the director comes in handy is crafting the story, crafting, maybe the shot. Well, not so much the shot choices, but like just kind of the ins and outs of everything and pulling it all together. That's where the director has a role to play. But like the look, I don't know. I feel like that's become sort of, pre-planned already. I'm on it says, I envy the old. They lived in a much more free and expressive world. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a little bit, Then again, maybe just don't. Sometimes maybe just gotta let Twitter be Twitter and just ignore what they have to say about stuff and just like, all right, that's cool, whatever. Has Michael Bay been crapped on yet? Is he a young filmmaker? No, he's actually pretty old now. I kind of like Michael Bay. Not that I like his movies because I don't particularly care for his movies or style, but like for the audacity of the guy, he can do some audacity. He has pretty audaciousness to him, taste to it. In my place, many old wedding folks still use a camcorder, whereas many younger folks use a shallow depth of field as everything, and everything makes that makes a generation battle. I am of the camcorder. I am the camcorder. Definitely the camcorder camp. Unfortunately, I do feel I feel like it feels bad. I mean, it is a generational thing, I think, because when somebody goes on these film forums and asks, "Hey, I'm looking to upgrade my Canon camera, my Canon Rebel. I want to upgrade something more professional," and everybody answers like with cameras that are also DSLRs or mirrorless even, and it feels like that's not really an upgrade. Like, I mean, it is. I mean, obviously somewhat of an upgrade, but it's not like for functionality. Like, I am so much more of a functionality. Now, don't get me wrong. If I was a wedding photographer or wedding videographer, I would have one camcorder. I would have the camcorder operating, like capturing the event, but I'd be using DSLRs and small form cameras to go and shoot B-roll all day long. Totally. There really is something nice about the DSLR form factor. If you're just a single solo shooter and you're just trying to get some B-roll, like to go around and shoot whatever you want without lugging a big giant tripod around. Oh, it is so nice. That's why my kit, I have that Canon XC15, XC15, which is sort of a hybrid between a camcorder and a camera, because it's got the form factor of a DSLR, but it's really more of a camcorder because it's got all the audio and all that stuff. So, yeah. Says David Peterson, the big difference in the world 80s and 90s for sure. The biggest drawback is the size and the weight of the gear. Yeah, and it feels like also the gear the quality it's almost a no-brainer how much you can get. Because I've been watching a lot of old BBC shows lately. I was rewatching Blackadder, but I was watching a show called The Bottom with Rick Mayall, who plays. It's sort of like I don't know. I don't know. I haven't looked into the history of it all, but it's kind of got that punk rock mentality of the young ones of just completely destructive mayhem on set. That they'll literally destroy the set, and it's overly gross and nasty. It's kind of like, but it's Rick Mayall's kind of playing this just slimy character. I forget the other Edmondson, I think is his name, the other actor that's in it. But I was watching it on my Amazon Fire tablet last night, and I was just noticing, it's quality wise, but standard definition. So it's like it'll never get to be that good of quality. It will never be HD. It'll never be HD. Oh, what do I have to say about China's censorship in the movie industry? Yeah, there's nothing much to be said good about China. So I'm also slightly biased because I was born in Taiwan. My mom is from Pengfu, which is a small island off of Taiwan. So my mother's side of the family is in Taiwan. So we're not exactly historically fans of the Chinese Communist Party. even though I love red, as you can tell. But yeah, I'm not. I mean, China's not only censoring the movie industry, it's censoring everybody. So, I mean, that's a big giant question in the larger scope of things. The question you ask is like if an old Olympic athlete envy the new Olympic athlete because of their training facilities when you enjoy the competition, one both enjoyed the competition experience. I think my question with the young and old is really more about like, do you envy, as you get more experience, do you envy the inexperienced for the ability to just have a lack of creative restriction? Because I know, like, I feel like as you get older, I feel you kind of learn like, okay, well, I can't shoot it that way. I can't shoot. You learn all the restrictions, and then you feel confined by the restrictions. But then again, I don't know, because the more experience I get, the less I feel about the restrictions. I feel like there's more you can do. Oh, there you go. Rigel says we use the XC10 at school at the moment. I haven't used enough to warm up to it. It's a great result. It is the XC line of cameras, of the Canon cameras, is a nice balance. Like, I know when it first came up, we were like, what the heck is this sensor? It's not quite like micro four thirds. It's a little bit smaller than micro four thirds. It's about a 1-inch sensor. So it's a micro 1, right? But it's not quite a camcorder. So it's kind of like, it's a little bit of foolproof. You can almost like this. Part of the reason why I got it was you can hand it to somebody who doesn't have a tremendous amount of experience, and they will be able to operate it within reason, because it's got decent autofocus, and it's got a nice image. It's got a nice image. Yeah, filmmakers are trapped by the new social mores. I think more filmmakers are trapped by the corona sex. Corona. Why did I say corona sex? Coronavirus, because I was reading this next comment. How do you think sex should be treated in films? They should be treated very, very nicely. No, I'm not a prude. I am probably a pervert by all your guys' imaginations is probably true. I am more along the lines of perverted than I am a prude. I think, obviously the performers have to be, they have to understand what they're getting themselves into. But I'm more open to kind of how you treat sex in a film. As far as like when it comes to like, well, it depends on what the performers are willing to do. Obviously, there's a line you don't want to cross, and it becomes when a film becomes basically pornography. It causes a lot more on the other. It causes a lot more troubles on the distribution end when sex becomes too explicit and too graphic. Then you can't get it released anywhere. Then that kills it, and you can't put it on Vimeo, YouTube. It starts getting killed everywhere. So so there's a line you have to draw. You have to be careful what you portray. But then naked bodies, dude. There's some production value to having naked bodies, both male and female. I'm not gonna pick sides, although I do prefer one or the other. But there's nothing wrong with seeing a naked man or naked woman. It doesn't bother me. I like it. Anyhow, there we go. Scott Gamble says, a friend of mine who is 79 was an old-time Philly professional, worked on several David Lynch projects. Oh, pre-Eraserhead. Oh, nice. Pre-Eraserhead. Those are some... Look up David Lynch's early shorts. Those are some freaky things. David Lynch released those on disc, removed everyone's credit. Oh, but a film by David Lynch. That sucks. Older generation Alexa versus Gen X Cam. Sure. Both of them. There you go. What's your opinion of Martin Scorsese's opinion of new superhero movies? He commented they're audiovisual art, but definitely not movies. I don't agree with that. I think Martin Scorsese is... I think Martin Scorsese, is more coming from sour grapes issue. Because, The Irishman cost as much money as the Spider-Man movie did. It really did. I mean, I cannot erase that discussion, that money aspect of it, from the discussion of it. And you might consider that The Irishman is, art, and that Spider-Man is commercial, and therefore Spider-Man is not as much value. But we're talking like $160 million here. We're talking about people's lives. We're talking about, like Elon Musk only put up $100 million for whoever came up with the best carbon capture technology. So more money than that was being put into this thing. I can't justify that. I can't justify, like, for me, well, I can Spider-Man, you could justify that because it made like $400 million. So it made money back. But for Martin Scorsese, they put like $160 million for The Irishman, which I didn't think was that good. I didn't even finish it because I couldn't. It was too much. But I can't justify that. I really can't. Like, why does it cost this much money to make essentially a drama, a period drama? And I think that's where it's coming from, because Martin Scorsese cannot get his movies made for the prices that he wants to make them, and that's why I think he lashed out against superhero movies, which can get that budget because they make a return on that kind of money. That's what I never understood. Like, how come? I realized that okay, Martin Scorsese probably could not say, I'm going to make a $10 million movie. Everyone's going to work for really cheap, and we're just going to use like live sets. There's probably an expectation from Martin Scorsese, like, you want to get paid your full rate, maybe more than your full rate, right? If you're working on a Martin Scorsese production, I don't know. But then again, what's his face did Wolf of Wall Street for cheap, so I don't know. You would think that if you got famous as a director, that you would at some point, like, I'm really famous, I can do whatever I want, I'm just going to make small budget movies where I can have complete, total creative control. Now, there are some people that did that, but it doesn't seem to happen a lot, because I think you get used to the big budget. I don't know. What do I know? I work on peanuts. So, let's see, what else are you saying? I've already talked about Tenet to death when we talked about Tenet, so we're not going to talk about Tenet. Let's see. Daniel says, we're going back to this older, younger folks generational war thing. I feel like the older generation had so many limitations, understand the tools better than the new generations growing up with auto everything. Yeah, probably. But I think, the auto everything is fine, but it only takes you to a certain point. I don't know. Maybe I think you're right, but I think maybe, to me, it's like you put it on auto first, and then you run it, and then you start looking at it like, oh, I don't like the way that works. How can I fix that? And then you start dialing in everything, right? You set it to auto first, you learn how everything works, and then you start dialing in things to get the proper thing. I don't know. One thing I've noticed, I'll just mention this right now, is that the quality of Zoom calls has gotten better in the last year. They've improved their technology. But the one thing that Zoom has gotten really good at is sound. Like, obviously Zoom call is not going to have the best sound in the world. Duh. You're not going to get, but for the kind of crap that you see on Zoom, like pardon the language, the shitty video quality, the shitty, just every production quality, some people that are using Zoom are just the crappiest pieces of junk technology, but you can actually hear what they're saying. And they could be like way back here, and right now you're probably like, this is crappy audio, John, you can barely hear me. But if this is a Zoom call, you could actually make out what I'm saying, and it wouldn't be that bad. So I don't know, something about Zoom that they've really perfected the ability for people who are not videographers, who are not video engineers, who don't know anything about cameras and microphones. Passable. It's starting to get passable. I'm pretty excited about that. Anyhow. Yeah, Pedro says, brings up, this is exactly what I was thinking. After Return of Jedi, George Lucas said he would work only on small projects, and we're still waiting. He did do Red Tails, which failed miserably. I think what's funny about George Lucas is he wanted to do small projects. He ended up doing a couple small, or maybe just one, and nobody wanted to buy it because it's like, oh, this is not Star Wars. This is not what we're expecting. If Steven Spielberg, Steven Spielberg does make small projects, although even his small projects are like $50-60 million projects. But if Steven Spielberg says, I'm just going to make I'm going to make like a super low budget, Shakespeare movie, he's kind of built a brand around him that's a big budget thing. You'd be like, I don't know about that. But then, somebody like Werner Herzog makes a small budget, and then, that's what he's known for. Anyhow, I don't know. So, Zoom needs Pied Piper tech. I don't know what Pied Piper tech is. So, yeah, let's see. Let's go Boa Mike's comments here. It says, I feel like every generation feels that way. Understanding the technology is only one part of it. Good filmmaking and storytelling transcends technology. Absolutely. Totally agree with that. It just seems like nowadays we have the technology. We have so much technology that it's so easy to do basically anything. It's amazing. Like I am just, like I said, I was just starting to do more 3D printing, and I'm kind of blown away by what I can do. With just kind of rudimentary technology. Now, there's been people. I'm a little late to the game, so there's a lot of people that have been developing software. Like I have a Raspberry Pi, which controls the printer, which also can do like a time lapse. So it can move the printer out of the way, take a picture, so that the thing grows organically up during the time lapse. I can check it on anywhere from my phone. I can make sure if something's blowing up on the printer, I can always turn it off. And there's so much that can be done now because of simple technology. It's amazing. Does Red have anything to do with China? I don't think so. Jim Jannard is the owner of Red. He's still, at least he's founder of Red, so I don't think it's an American company. I recognize John Williams' music in the unaired pilot episodes of Gilligan's Island. You're going to mention that. We definitely hear a Star Wars in it. So, no, when you mentioned John Williams' music and unaired pilot, I was like, Gilligan's Island. Did you know John Williams did Gilligan's Island? Not the one that we all familiar with, but it was an earlier version. Yeah, John Williams. It's very, John Williams was a TV show, musician. He wasn't writing epic scores at that point yet, but there's little bits of hints of that going through. After 2000, remember, Spielberg would vanish from Earth and release 2 films in 1 year. Is that what he said? Do you guys remember? Also, I love this. Every time it's brought up, like they always say, they always pull out Steven Spielberg and George Lucas predict the Hollywood implosion of Hollywood studios. And I was like, well, it's been 6 years. It hasn't happened yet. There's a book worth reading, and I don't know if it's still how applicable. Obviously, the pandemic has thrown everything in economics kind of in a weird place. But there is a book out there called Blockbuster Strategy, and I want to just look up the author of it. I saw this and I listened. I actually got it on Audible. But the Blockbuster Strategy versus what's called there's long tail strategy and there's Blockbuster Strategy. And the author of the book was Anita Elberse, Elberse. And then she talks about how, like, there's 2 companies, there's 2 studios. One studio decided they're going to make a lot of mid-budget movies, like 10 to 15, $20 million movies. This is back in the 90s. So that was a mid-budget movie back in those days. 20 to $50 million movie. They would make like 10 of them, and then they would make small, modest bets, and then that's their strategy. And this other studio, their strategy was, we're going to make a couple low budget movies, but we're going to put a lot of money, like hundreds of millions of dollars, into a property that's going to be huge. So which one do you think would come up on top? The studio that puts the money into to 1 or 2 big movies versus the studio that put into, like, spread it out into small movies and a couple, small, modest budgets. Nothing planned to be huge, right? Which one do you think came out ahead? Truth is, the company that made the small movies, they almost went bankrupt. They failed miserably. And the company that put the big bets, they're the ones that succeeded. That's basically Disney, Warner Brothers. Big bets versus I think it was Paramount that was trying to do that for like 3 or 4 years, and it just literally sank them. Now, will all the big bets work? No, of course not. Pedro wisely points out that's how we got Waterworld. Yes, big bets. You have to be able to absorb a big bet. Another big bet that probably hasn't been mentioned around, not the Postman, John Carter. John Carter nearly destroyed Disney. If you go back and look up John Carter, is based on a series of really popular sci-fi novels about Mars, John Carter from Mars. Humongous bet, like $400 million down the toilet. It was so bad. It nearly destroyed Disney. Like it literally almost collapsed them. But look at them now. Look where Disney is now. So, yeah, Aaron says this is kind of the opposite of the traditional thinking. And it's absolutely true. Where you shouldn't put all your, now if you're investing your life savings, yeah, you might want to spread them around a little bit. But if you're a corporation like a studio or even any kind of entertainment entity, you really can't go with small, like just feeding in. You have to start putting big bets down. Now, again, we're talking about like a big company here, right? We're talking about a big studio. And also, what Anita Elbersi says is you need two things. You need to be a big studio, but you also need to absorb a big loss because nothing's guaranteed. You know, those big bets can backfire. Absolutely. Yeah. Poor Disney. They had to buy Marvel and Star Wars to make it back. Yeah. I think, when did John Carter, let's see. I think they might have already owned Marvel at that point. Let's see, John Carter, 2012. So maybe they didn't. Maybe I don't know my numbers exactly right there, but I'm just looking up their Wikipedia. I know this is exciting stuff here, right? So reception, box office made $73 million and $11 million. Also made decent money, but I think it cost like $400 million, so it still lost the money. There it is. Although the film grossed nearly $300 million worldwide, it lost a considerable amount of money due to its cost at the time it released. Disney claimed the first production budget was $250 million, although tax returns in 2014 said the exact budget was $263 million after taking tax credits into account. So maybe I was off with. Oh wait, before the film opened, analysts predicted the film would be a huge financial failure due to its exorbitant combined marketing costs of $350 million. So I wasn't that far off. Although the president of Hollywood.com noted John Carter's bloated budget would have required to generate worldwide ticket sales of more than $600 million to break even. So it didn't quite make $600 million. So yeah, the film's failure led to the resignation of Rich Ross, the head of Walt Disney Studios, even though Ross had arrived there from his earlier successes at the Disney Channel while the thing was already in development. So yeah, it actually caused some heads to roll. So anyhow, I think Zach says I think Disney goofed big with Gina Carano thing. A lot of people canceled the Disney Plus, and now they're raising prices. Yeah, I don't know if that's why they're raising prices. I think they're raising prices because Disney tends to do that. Or like now, it's like you get Disney Plus, and you got that, but if you want to watch, Black Widow when it comes out, you're going to need to pay an extra $30. It's like, come on. All right, I'll just go to the movie theater. Screw it. Hopefully the theaters will be open by then. Yeah, and the whole Gina Carano thing, that really upset me. That was not, the way they treated her was not right. Disney built John Carter to be Star Wars, and they bought Star Wars, so they pulled the plug and let it... Well, they didn't pull the plug. They went through with it. There we go. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. The title was John Carter Between Two Worlds, and we had to figure out it was on Mars from the trailer. And then, like, I feel like they also... Wasn't that about the same time when they had Mars Needs Moms came out? That was a flop of a movie. Holy moly. Boa says Gina wasn't a good actor. I mean, that's a subjective thing. I would not say she's the strongest of all acting chops, but then again, she developed a character. She developed a character, and I think she did get her for her politics, which I don't care for. I don't care for getting people for their politics, especially the way it was not treated well. Can you talk? There we go. Can you talk a little bit about? Did I get that one up? Can you talk a little bit about how about this thing where when the studios know a film will be a failure while they're making it? I don't know. I don't think any. My approach has always been no filmmaker ever sets out to make a bad movie. That's just my complete belief all the way down the line. Now, some filmmakers may realize that they're not working on Shakespeare. Filmmakers realize, and they go out there, we're not making art, we're making something silly and stupid. Like Asylum doesn't go out there and say we're making a brilliant movie here. They know what they're making, but they're not making choices that they think are bad. They're trying to make the best of what they can, right? So I don't know if a studio, I don't know of any particular example of a studio that basically goes the producer's route, where they know it's going to be a flop, so they just dump money into it as a tax write-off. It's like, oh yeah, this is a crappy movie, but or like that, like the if you want to go back to one of the original canceled movies, I mean, this is before cancel culture was a thing. Go back to Jerry Lewis's movie where he plays a clown that's in a Nazi concentration camp. Like he won't even let that see the light of day, that movie, because it's so bad taste. This is like the 70s, right? So cancel culture is not that new. I mean, it's got a new manifestation now, obviously, but it goes back. We've had sensitivities to things. Like in that situation, like that movie, like did they think, well, this movie's never going to see the light of day, so let's go ahead and just write off everything in it. I don't know. Is a way, what you call it, a money laundering scheme. I don't know. Disney is now what? Now only for the 9-year-old men. Disney has always been kind of family friendly. Like I don't like if you're going through, like you're sitting there trying to figure out what to watch, like. You don't go to Disney Plus and like, I'm in the mood for some Randy sex comedy. Disney Plus doesn't have that. Shoot. Disney's going to be very family friendly, so it's always been that way. Scott Gamble says modern big time union films cost a lot. 10 to 12 years ago, the average hour was 53 to 58 per hour. How many people work at movies adds up. Rates are huge too. Yeah, even like think about it. Even if you're making a low budget movie and you're paying, let's say, $20 an hour for a PA. Let's say everyone's working super low rates, but $20 an hour is, at least you're not feeling terrible. But times the 30 people that need to be working per day, and that's making bare bones money. That's like gas money almost at that level. But you're looking at $5,000 a day easily, for a small budget movie. 30 days, 30 days at $5,000. I mean, it all, if you're funding this out of your own pocket, that adds up super, super fast. So, again, funding out of your own pocket. So, since saving time is a big cost, they also manage to waste a great deal of cash trying to make their day. Yeah, what happens or what needs to happen in 2 days, for example. And I think what's scary about that too is there's a tendency in television and even some production, well, television especially, is to cram as much time as they can into, like, they do the math. They figure, okay, if we can get the work done in an 18-hour day or a 20-hour day, and I'm paying you time and a half or double overtime at 12 hours, I still make out cheaper than if I broke it down into 2 days and had to rent the location for 2 days or something like that. So the math works out to being almost abusive, like the amount of work that television workers work on a show. They'll work 20-hour days. Sometimes they'll work 20-hour days and then go home for an hour, then go back and work another 20-hour shift, and that's crazy. Oh yeah, so Rigel mentions the Tom Green movie might have set out to make a bad movie, but I think Tom Green set out to make a movie as insane, because I recently watched that movie, and it is. I feel like it is a very auteur movie. It is Tom Green set out to make something in a certain way. Red Letter Media says as an FU to the studio, basically. It's like, here's some cash, and he just lit it on fire. So in a sense, it's almost an art piece. How insanely crazy it is. Maboa says, I find ironic that gangster rappers like Ice Cube and Queen Latifah end up doing Disney films. I remember DMX, who's like one of the most gangster rappers, but he became a Christian artist, I think. And Disney's always been like Mary Poppins and many other movies are all family friendly. Flubber, I mean every live action Disney movie. I think the first rated R Disney movie, check me if I'm right on this, I know Touchstone was one of their like more adult fare labels, but like I think Pretty Woman was like the first R-rated movie that they produced. So it wasn't all the way till Pretty Woman that you got like an R-rated. Scott Gamble says John Carter was thrown away on purpose. It was not a bad film. Right in the middle of production, Lucas told Disney, "Oh, okay." And that's why they spent. And they said, "Why spend money on property that Star Wars borrowed and stole ideas from?" Oh, okay. I mean, but I think they still wanted it to work, but they didn't. Obviously, because somebody lost their job over it. My shirt is really popping today. Yeah, I like red. I'm a big fan of red. And I think somebody was mentioning on my video on yellow, and the reason why I use red is because I didn't get enough of it as a child. When I was first starting off, red would bleed, so this was a bad color to wear on set or on camera. But now it doesn't bleed so much. Boa, I'm branching something that I've been waiting to talk about. I forgot to talk about the Snyder Cut. All right, man, we got to talk about the Snyder Cut. We got to talk about the Snyder Cut. So I am one of the people that was not terribly. I did not hate Justice League. Like when it came out, everyone's like, I hate this. This movie is awful. This movie is terrible. And then my friend Joe and I went to see the movie, and we walked out thinking, that was cute. I don't hate it. It wasn't great. I won't watch it again probably. It wasn't that bad. It was kind of cute, right? And then I forgot about it. I never revisit it because there's never ever a need to revisit that movie. And so when I heard Zack Snyder's got this Snyder Cut movie and it's going to be recut and all that, I'm like, so what? I didn't really care for the first cut. I don't really need to see, I really won't get anything more from the second cut. So it came out and I was like, well, I got nothing to do. I'm going to watch it over 2 nights. I'm just going to, break it apart. It's got parts, so I'll watch it over a couple times. So I turn it on and immediately I'm like, I don't remember any of this. This is completely different than I remembered. And I thought back to it. Oh yeah, was the Justice League the one with the funky mustache because they had to replace? Yeah, that's right. They had to replace Superman's mustache. But that isn't in this cut. And I was watching this thing, and I'm at home. It's Justice League, so you're like, I'm not watching this carefully. I'm just gonna put it on. I'll be sitting here. Maybe I'll take my phone out, or I'll just kind of turn my brain off and just get into it. I just kept watching it, and then part 1 passes, part 2, okay, part 3. I was like, this is a lot better. This is completely tonally different. Like everything about this movie is different than what I remember from the original Justice League. And I end up sitting there until like 2 a.m. in the morning. I finished the whole damn thing. Now, is it the greatest movie in the world? Obviously, no. Come on, it's not the greatest thing in the world. It is a huge improvement over the theatrical version. I mean, it is night and day. Now, I think a lot of it, your appreciation for Justice League is going to be how much can you tolerate Zack Snyder's propensities as a director, because he has some propensities towards certain kind of iconic imagery. He's the anti-Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man kid from New York, gained superpowers and is still just a kid at heart. No, Zack Snyder these are Roman gods. They are super powerful, and they are compared to the Christ. The Christ imagery is, I mean, you can throw a wrench and you'll hit like a Christ image inside the Justice League. There's so much of that. I think the DC world is less about like the commoner who is granted superpowers, more like the responsibility of those who are of noble born. It's like super high end. Anyhow, so your appreciation of that will vary. Obviously, I mean I can appreciate it. I liked it. So I was a fan of the Snyder Cut. I was a big fan of Snyder Cut. I'm glad they were able to pull that out. I mean, it's a fascinating issue. It's a fascinating entrance. Like the difference between Blade Runner, the theatrical cut, and the Blade Runner, the Ridley Scott cut, and the Blade Runner, the ultimate cut. They're all similar, right? They're all 80% of the film is the same, but there's a couple scenes they took out. They took out the voiceover. A couple things are a little different. Snyder cut versus theatrical cut, like literally two different movies. So, we talked about, yes, Joss Whedon has propensities as well. Yes, Joss Whedon has a lot of propensities. A lot of you notice a lot of those low shots of Wonder Woman's ass were removed. Not quite the same, not the amount. Joss Whedon. But what they did with the Flash. So if I know you may not all want to be talking about superhero movies, but in Justice League, in the theatrical version, basically they bring back Superman. Spoiler alert. Superman's coming back. Not a spoiler. Just Superman basically saves the day. But in Zack Snyder's movie, it's very much more of a Flash and the Cyborg have things to do, and they are a part of the team, and they actually work together to solve the problem and save the day, versus just, we brought back Superman, yay, save us, Superman, and he just saves them. But I really did like the Flash. Cyborg got a really good treatment. Like I felt like, man, I really like in the original Justice League, I was like, who cares? Cyborg, who cares? Flash, he's funny. But this movie, man, Cyborg has a emotional tether, something that you can feel for. You understand him better, and you understand the stakes. It's just the movie is so much better. The Snyder Cut. I'm really surprised. I was surprised because I was not expecting it to be. I was not expecting it to be good at all. I was not expecting anything different. But it was so much, like I said, Boa says, so much better. So if you have any, I mean, look, if you don't like comic book movies, you're not going to like Justice League. So don't bother. But this is not going to be the one that's like, I am now converted to liking comic book movies. This is not the one to do it on. But if you like if you can appreciate these movies, then it was Jacob. Harder for me to get through Once Upon a Time in Hollywood than it was for Justice League. That's funny. I like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I can imagine it is sort of a slow burn, that movie. But Justice League, at least the Snyder Cut, they at least get you in and out. I mean, you're into the battles pretty quickly. Stephen Guy says, as if these studios might not be so good at this whole movies thing. That's the problem, like the studios have the money. Like if let's say you had $1 billion. Let's say like Jeff Bezos said, I'm about to die. Steve, take all my money. And he just hands you all of the Amazon's money, right? And you're like, I've got all this money. I think I want to make some movies, right? And then like, maybe for the first couple movies, you're like, hey, I'm going to hire, some director that I love, and I'm going to give him money to make his movie. And he comes back, he makes a movie. That was good. Wasn't quite what I was imagining when you pitched the movie. It wasn't quite what I was thinking you were going to do, but it was pretty good. It's pretty good. But the next time you're like, it is my money, so I am going to be a little more picky about who gets my money, and I'm going to be a little more careful about who gets my money, right? And then you go down the road, of like, you want your fingers in everything because you're the client now. So I appreciate I would like to think that I would be able to fund movies, but not have to, not be to not be hands-on about it. But sorry, I'm getting distracted because Boa just mentioned another thing. He thought that Watchmen was great too. I agree. I don't know why everyone hates on the one Zack Snyder's. I thought Zack Snyder's Watchmen was like the perfect, was a good follow up to basically the Nolan's Batman universe. It's like it was a dark, darker take on superheroes. A more realistic take, grounded in kind of the suspicions, the fears of terrorism and all that, of larger things. But yeah, I really like the Watchmen. That was one of my favorite superhero films from that era. Freight Train remind me of the show The Boys. Never mind. Is the entertainment industry too saturated? Do I have any chance of livable success as a 20-year-old marketing major with ambitions to utilize my creativity for income? Yes, you do. I don't think it's too saturated. You'll find that the entertainment industry is very saturated. So that just means that not everybody will get to the top. It was the Bill Maher. I think Bill Maher was talking about the Grammys, right? And like how. I think Bill Maher was ranting about how, that in Spotify, like the top 1% of Spotify artists make up like 50% of the income, or some ridiculous amount. It's the same way with movie industry. It's the same way with any aspect of entertainment. The 1% of entertainers, or even 10% of entertainers, will make up like 90% of the money. And then the 90% will just be fighting for the bottom 10%. Same thing with YouTube, man. Like I feel like I'm cracking the bottom of that 10%. I'm just like tapping at the bottom of that bottom 10%. But yeah, that's just the way it is. So there's going to be a lot of people that are the wannabes that want to do it, and they will never make money doing it. But if you succeed, if you work hard and you try to find a niche that works for you, then yeah. So Moon Safari was talking. I guess we were talking about Watchmen still, more shallow than the comic. But the thing is, I never read the comics, so I'm not a comic book reader. Yeah, maybe Dr. Manhattan's junk people couldn't handle it. I appreciate the fact that they showed his junk. I don't know, look, I prefer the female form. I think his female form is awesome. Although I do understand, like, hey, I get it that it's overused in film. So if you show some man ass, that's fine by me. Whatever. Give the women something to look at. And I didn't realize, blue junk hanging around isn't exactly something that women are clamoring to see, but it makes it feel more real. It's like I'd rather see his blue junk than just have like a Ken doll private parts, because that just feels like it's not real. Having some blue junk flying around. Boy, this live stream is going to be one for the books. We got John talking about blue junk. Thank goodness. Thank goodness we got to this point. Oh, I never did see Venom. I never did see Venom. So maybe I should check it out if it was not too bad. That Ozymandias ending, it was amazing. I think that's why I liked about it. They obviously didn't use the purple octopus thing from the book. So, yeah, Watchmen is like the perfect anti-comic book. I think the good successor to Watchmen is actually The Boys. Check out The Boys if you haven't watched it. It's not a movie; it's a TV show. It's a show by Amazon. But The Boys is also based on a comic book, obviously. But The Boys feels like it's a modern anti-comic book that is pretty damn good. Oh, there you go. What is this? Nick Manny says Disney is looking for supporting actors in an area about 180 miles from here. Would you join just to see how huge a movie is shot? Sure. If you're an actor and if you want to be like a extra, like one of my friends was spent a lot of time as an extra, just doing like central casting stuff. And sure, just to go out there, just to see a real live movie production in action and be in it. Why not? And get paid a little bit of money or even just lunch. It is definitely good. Arthur, man, oh man, thank you for mentioning it is showing his Smurf, the blue junk. Oh my God. Yeah, that'll be great. Let's see. Yeah, Scott Gamble says on union shoots, if you work SAG actors over their maximum hours, then they get paid a lot extra if they don't have at least 8 hours to go home and rest. Well, good for SAG to actually be able to do that. There we go. Wow, Scott Gamble says on Star Trek '09, Zach Quinto got paid probably an additional $7,000 to $20,000 a day as they kept encroaching on his downtime. He was okay with it, but it just happened that he was on the show for 4+ months. Yeah, boy, I mean, look at numbers like that, 77, even I'd take $7,000 a day, sure. Work me 20 hours a day. I don't, if I'm making $20,000 a day, but then you realize like those actors, like he'll get that job and then he may not work for a long, long time. Oh, 7 to 10,000 says Scott, not 7 to 20. Well, what's 10K amongst friends, right? What's 10K to J.J. Abrams? But someone like that who may get that money for for one movie, but he may not work for another 8 months or something like that. So he's got to make that last, and he's living in L.A. lifestyle, so he's got quite a bit of expenses to pay. Although I think Zach Quinto will be just fine. I don't think. Did he have to deal with blue junk? That's a bonus of another 5K. It's just written in the SAG contract. Like anytime you show your blue junk, if you have to paint your blue junk, it's like that. It's like the Arrested Development gag, where Tobias just blew himself. Yeah, there you go. Rigel says that is a small price to pay for a guy considering his mom died and his planet blew up, and his mom was freaking Winona Ryder of all people. I mean, she's a fine lady, super fine lady. Winona Ryder. Going back I watched Beetlejuice not that long ago. No, I watched not Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands. Wow, she was beautiful, and that Edward Scissorhands is a movie that occasionally needs to be revisited for just the sheer audacity of that movie. To think of a movie that's just basically about an Avon makeup lady. I don't know, it's not quite Avon, right? But just watch Edward Scissorhands again, and you're like, how did they do this? How did Tim Burton convince people that this is what he wanted to do? And it's just, to turn into this little track housing to this ridiculously stylistic place. I mean, and then to get all these actors, and Johnny Depp was fantastic, obviously, but Winona Ryder was so beautiful in that movie. I think it was one of her first, not her first, obviously, movie, but. But then you don't introduce her for like a long time in the movie. You see the lady that they have who's not a really famous actress either. The play that plays the mom. Anyhow, yeah, really cool movie. Really cool movie. That is exactly why Young Filmmakers. So the thing with that is like if you were to make Edward Scissorhands today, you would like CGI everything, right? So you wouldn't even need to build up that street. You would just like CGI the street. But then if you CGI the street, yeah, there's that tendency like, well, if you can CGI it, you can maybe go crazy and like make it overly and that's what Tim Burton's done, right? He's become this like Alice in Wonderland. Everything's super Tim Burton-y, right? Everything's super crazy. So that's the kind of dangerous thing about that. Like, I mean, you can obviously CGI it to the point where it's not overly crazy. It's more subdued and more restrained, but the temptation's always there to do it. Yeah, you just don't see films like that anymore. The last film I felt that way about was Mad Max Fury Road. Like Mad Max Fury Road, I felt like, holy crap, like this, how did they do this? Like that took me to a different place. Like that movie, but that movie is like 5 years old now, so we haven't seen that in a while yet. Joaquin Rocco, hopefully pronounced that right. I'm scrolling YouTube and I stumbled upon your live stream. A 13-year-old aspiring filmmaker. Yes. Just wanted to ask, what can I do to start right now to become a filmmaker? Well, start making some little movies. Start making. What I always tell young filmmakers is to start making small videos. Like, so what I do as a kid, and I recommend this because this is my form of nostalgia coming across here, is go and make a parody of a movie that you like, or whatever's popular at the time. You know, make a parody and like cast your friends and make like a parody of something, and then try to make it in that style. So like when I was a kid, Titanic just came out, so I got the girl that I had the hugest crush on to play Rose in this thing, and I played Jack, and then we did the scene with the drawing scene, right? Although, like, I'll tell the story. I know you're 13. You're old enough to hear this story. So if you've seen Titanic, there's a scene where Rose comes in and she's got her robe, and I want you to draw me like one of your French girls, and she takes off the robe and she lies on. So I had to do the scene with her, with the girl I had a crush on. But the joke was she was clothed, but I shot it so the robe fell down, but you saw her calves. So I want you to shoot me like your French girls, and she does that, and then I shoot down here, like her calves, and you see the robe fall, and you cut back, and she's actually wearing cut off jeans. So that was my joke. That was what I wanted to do, and then the drama teacher's like, you know what, John, you should shoot it the way they did in the movie. There's a lady drama, but she was probably, she's probably female friendly, right? She pushed me, John, you really should shoot it the way. There's ways to do it. You can cover things up on camera. So she was like going for like egging me on to do it that way. But no, I did it. Nothing ever came of that crush. I was too much of a sheltered, like internally shy boy. I wasn't that way. I didn't become less internally shy until I was like mid-20s. So yeah, nothing came of that. But that's my story. Anyhow, there's a Beetlejuice 2 in the works. Okay, if they have what's his face coming back as Beetlejuice, then maybe. All these CGI effects, and then there's no one with his big ass IMAX cam and budget. Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna take a 747 and fly it and drive it into a hangar and blow it up. Why? No reason. There you go. Plaster Parrot said, not a filmmaker, but an instrumentation engineer in the area of camera sensors. I'd love watching some of your videos. Thank you. Your work I've seen on you. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, I try to be accurate. I don't always succeed because the technology is sometimes more complicated than what I can explain. Yeah, Edward Scissorhands is Burton's best movie. Probably so. Yeah. I was going to say Nightmare Before Christmas, but Nightmare Before Christmas isn't a Tim Burton movie. It's just mistaken for a Tim Burton movie. But yeah, Edward Scissorhands probably. Yeah, I would probably say that might be it. I am partial to Beetlejuice as well, but I think Edward Scissorhands probably is like the nicest one. All right. Yeah, Joaquin, you're getting some advice from the chat. Follow it. Good stuff. They're all looking out for you. Alrighty. There we go. Maggot Minded. How to become better at story? Asking as an animation student. Oh, Rigel does say Ed Wood was his better movie. Maybe. So how do you become better at story? I think part of that is also just tell a lot of stories, watch a lot, read a lot, look at different stories. I think part of it is just doing it. And if an animation student, I think the first animation is like, if you watch my intro at the very beginning, like I animated that like about 3 years ago. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, there's some things I would reanimate. I would animate better now if I knew better, because I know better. Because you get more experience. You get more experience, you start noticing different things, and you start getting a better sense of what works and what doesn't work. So that's also probably. Oh, Boa says listen a lot too. So yeah, listen, watch, experience. Just I saw one of the best videos that Every Frame of Painting did was on Chuck Jones, and Chuck Jones' advice to animators and to cartoonists at the time was study everything except for animation, study art, study history, study literature, study all of that stuff, because that's how you get to be better at filmmaking, storytelling, because the technical stuff you can learn in a day or two, but all the other stuff is really what matters, storytelling. Arshwa says, I'm not skilled in color science. Maybe this is also due to cheaper gear I use. Do you think that expensive cameras capture better colors? They can. We talk about like color depth. Color depth is one thing. Color compression and stuff is another thing. They can. The question is really, what are you shooting? The one thing I think most people get wrong about color science and color technology is that they shoot white walls and wonder why their shot looks boring. You've got white walls. Like right now, like I've got a lot of color. I've got a really bright red shirt. I'm using a nice camera, obviously. But I've got a super saturated green, blue background. I've got lots of colors here. So half of your color, if you're filmmaking, is what's in front of the camera. So don't forget about what that is. What do you think of those masterclass programs? Is it worth the money? I don't know. I've always been intrigued by them, but I don't have the time to sit down and watch a lot of those. Visual story. Yep. I'm gonna have to go pretty soon because I need to get lunch, and I'm getting kind of hungry. I haven't had lunch yet. Visual story and story can be combined in animation more easily than film. All books are worth a look into. Yeah, if I haven't mentioned it in this, I'm working on a comic book, so it's kind of like animation. It's not quite animation, but I am. It's a way to kind of get my film made, at least on paper, at least storyboarded. Basically, it's basically a high-end storyboard of the films that I'm trying to make. I would like to make, but I can't. Hey, Very Timo, I haven't seen you in a while. He's asking Plastered Parrot for some ideas about a camera. Go through a bad breakup. That'll improve your writing really fast, or it could make it really worse. Yeah. Let's see here. I want to be more expressive without exaggerating too much, or exaggerating in the right places, right timing. It's just a matter of working on it. Just keep working on it. Oh my God, shrimp on cinnamon toast crunch? What? That's what I'll have for lunch? Okay. That's interesting. I don't know about that. Most cameras that can record 10-bit log, so beyond 2K, you have to look at what you want. Google Steve Yedlin. Oh my God. Steve Yedlin will, if you don't understand color science, Steve Yedlin will blow you. You'll never follow Steve Yedlin. Don't look up Steve Yedlin. That's a little too far beyond. That's a little too beyond, right, his level. You're putting the cart before the horse there. Yeah. So as far as like color recording, most basic cameras will record 8-bit 420 color, and that's good. That's a lot. That's going to be good enough for a lot of things. Again, like I said, it's really what you put in front of the camera that matters most. But then it's a matter of how much you push that color. Then you get 10-bit and the 422 and all that jazz. So anyhow. Says, I subscribe to Martin Scorsese's Masterclass, and you'll get everything he says from the interviews he's given all over the years for free right here on YouTube. So that's the downside with Martin Scorsese, with the Masterclasses, is I feel like, are they really, is it worth, it might be worth it just to be able to sit down and like have everything distilled in one place for you, but it's not, a Masterclass in filmmaking is not like a Masterclass in like AutoCAD. Or if I wanted to learn ZBrush. That's one of the things I want to learn. So I might pay for like a ZBrush course, which would teach me everything I need to learn. But a master class, isn't that just sitting down and like, oh, he's going to give you some advice from his experience? You probably pick that up at a lot of places. So I don't know. Oh, there you go. As a video editor, my suspension of disbelief is triggered on a dime. Watching a movie is a pain. Watching a movie with friends. Yeah, get all the advice I give you is just get over it. Just try to get over it. Realize that we're all just in for a make believe. You know, it'll go either it goes away or it doesn't. For me, I've been able to turn that off and to just kind of enjoy. Is that a chicken I hear in the background? I think it's the wind blowing my my garage. I have a roll-up door back there, and the wind blows it, so it sounds like clucking. Oh, there you go. Let's pick that up there. A good book for aspiring filmmaker is The Grammar of Film Language by Daniel Arajan. Definitely worth buying. Check that out. All right. Have I seen anything by Robin Ostlund? I don't know how to pronounce that. If so, I don't. So no, I haven't seen it. Art Heroes is a good ZBrush course. Okay, I'll check that out. Art Heroes. All right, I'll have to check that one out. I want to learn ZBrush because I've really gotten into 3D modeling. I really got into 3D printing, and I would love to be able to model my own. I hit my comic book. I'd love to be able to model those characters. I would love that. I would love the 3D prints of that. Oh, I would love that. Scott Gamble says, I was a kid when Titanic premiered. I feel really old. When I was a kid, a huge movie was the original Planet of the Apes. Yeah, I was in high school when Titanic came out. So that was me as a kid, 97, 90 or so. Do you know why people crop shots on the forehead? I have a theory about that because really the most interesting thing about a human face is right above the eyebrows to right about the chin area. That's the most interesting part of a face. Like if I'm doing expressions, like it all happens right here. It doesn't happen here. Like this doesn't matter. Like I mean, I'm going bald as heck here, but all the interesting bits are right here. So you can crop if you're going to crop a shot. You can cut off the top of the head if you have to. You know, especially for a really wide aspect ratio. It's okay to start cropping the top. You know, I remember in the old days one of the first shorts I did was a TV show sitcom style short, and the director's rule was you always have to have 3 fingers above the head. 3 fingers above the head. That was his rule as far, and it didn't make sense when you're doing a close up, you know. So, iPhone has a pretty good camera. Yeah, I'm not a cell phone camera. I like cell phone for taking still photos and stuff like that, but I'm not good with movies on my phone. I just don't like it. I got enough other options. What's my opinion on Parasite? I liked it. I think I have a little bit of a tendency to reject it a little bit because it's a little bit too much praise given to that movie. But I liked it. I thought it was a good movie. It had a very Hitchcockian feel to it too. Oh, Mythbusters was 7 years old when so you weren't allowed to see Titanic. No, that's for us high schoolers. Oh, that was a date movie for a lot of folks. Not for me because I didn't get a date. Not with Katie there. No, she did not. I didn't even pursue her. I was such a lame. I'm still probably super lame, but whatever. I should check out Michael Pavloch's channel on YouTube. He's one of the top ZBrushers. Oh, okay, Michael Pavloch. I'll check him out too. The rule of thirds is secondary to the golden ratio. So the rule of thirds is basically the golden ratio. The golden ratio is pretty close to the rule of thirds. The thing is, like, one of the things I'll probably do a video eventually is I think the golden ratio has a purpose, but it's mostly bullshit. I think rule of third. I think golden ratio is like, yeah, it's about. I mean, it makes sense. Like you want to be around the golden ratio, but yeah, when people pull out their Fibonacci spirals and start putting them on TVs and like, look at all those times. It's like, nah, that's not true. There you go. Wales says. Liam in Wales says people overthink cameras. Most time in the public will never know. White balance and sound always matter more. I believe, right? Always matter more after content. Yep. Oh, yeah. Ed Wood's was really good, but wildly inaccurate. But Bela Lugosi's bio, Ed Wood's bio too. Edward Scissorhands is all fantasy, good for the leader. Good from leader to stern. There you go. Do you think Once Upon a Time wasn't that good a movie? No, I think it was a great movie. I could just see why some people would find it dull because it's a long boil. It's a long boil until the final act. Framing is instinctual. It always makes sense to learn the golden ratio. It won't tell you the story, but it won't tell the story for you. Yep, that's all instinct. I think, yeah, it's good to learn the golden ratio, but I think there's a cult behind the golden ratio that tries to think that everything is a golden ratio when it's not really the golden ratio. Like the sunflower, like everyone's like, oh, that's a golden ratio. It's not really the golden ratio. Like there's a lot of things that are considered golden ratio, but they're only considered golden ratio if you take a very, very loose interpretation of what the golden ratio is, but then it doesn't really work. Then if you have a really loose interpretation of what the golden ratio is, then the golden ratio really doesn't matter then, right? Because any ratio could work if you're loose about it. So, yeah, people go overboard with it. I think that's your response to that. Now, the 180-degree rule. Now, I want to do a video about the 180-degree rule, because I think the 180-degree cutting rule. I'm not talking about the 180-degree shutter rule. The shutter rule, people go overboard on that too. It's like there's too much talk about it. It's like, come on, guys, relax. Like I have actually, I don't know if I'm shooting. I shouldn't be shooting the 180 degree. If I'm shooting 24 on here, because I'm using these backgrounds, I should not be shooting 148. I should not be following the 180 degree rule. I should be using clear scan, which is matching the refresh rate of the screens in order to make it work. But I want to do one on a 180 degree editing rule because I feel like a lot of situations we can throw that rule almost out of the window. In fact, there's one show that I'm watching a lot of where they break it, and like it took me a long time to realize, oh crap, they break it every single time, and I don't even notice. I don't even notice it, and I think they must have had a discussion about it because I feel like they had to, but they cut it and it works. And it kind of works. Anyhow, Nick Money Steph says Parasite's a good movie because the Americans like a movie with subtitles. They're not so used to them in the original voice, which conveys many cultural distinctions of the characters. Yep. I think it's helpful to learn the rules. Yeah, I agree. I think it's totally helpful to learn rules, but not overthink it. But then not to think about it. You just have to be able to see it. Yep. Have I worked on a set? I have not worked on. Well, I've worked on other people's sets, but they're very small sets. I haven't worked on a set that has more than 10 people. Like that's the limit of how. That's the biggest set. No, 20. I guess I ran my set, which was like about 20 people. So that was a short. I've never done like. I've done like 2 or 3 day shoots. I've never. Well, no, I'll take that back. My short film was a 4-day shoot. So yeah, I've never done more than 4 days for one short film. I have never seen Enter the Void or Gaspar Noir scene. I can't get past that that title sequence. Am I excited about 4x3 making a comeback? I really love Fabian Wagner's work on the Snyder Cut. Just talking image. I'm not terribly excited about 4x3. I'm fine with 16:9. I'm fine with scope. I'm not huge on 4x3. I feel it kind of restricting. Like part of the thing I didn't like about the Snyder Cut was it did feel small. Like the effects felt small because 4x3 takes up less real estate on your average TV than your 16:9 TV. That's my only complaint. I mean, I'm glad people are experimenting with it. I'll never discount anybody for experimenting with any kind of aspect ratio. I didn't know. Okay, so I saw some explanations about the accents and expressions on Parasite, and it's really brutal on social commentary part. Or on the, I'm not familiar with any of that. The discussion on that. Let's see. I like this because I'm just going to read this out loud because I don't understand it. A composition reaction produces a single substance from multiple reactants. A decomposition reaction produces multiple products from a single reactant. Cool. I don't get it what they're saying, but Simeon says 4x3 was the indulgent decision on the Snyder Cut. It makes the movie feel less epic, which can chase against reality everything else in terms of the tone of the movie. Yeah, that's why I said I agree. I felt it made the film feel small. Because again, I'm not watching it on IMAX screen. Maybe if I watch it on an IMAX screen, the 4x3 would feel great, but not on a 16:9 screen. Yeah, Daniel says echoes my sentiment right there. So, but you know, I liked what they did with the story, so I enjoyed that part of it. So I mean, I think I don't know if it was an indulgent choice necessarily, like what Bunsen was saying here. I think it's more of a choice that they shot it on IMAX and they said, well, let's keep it this way. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. My favorite no American director. A modern American director, maybe? Ooh, that's tough. I'm trying to pick one that I would... Like Tarantino, I'd probably see every movie of his, but then again, that's because he only makes like a couple movies. I'm trying to think, like a modern... Fincher's probably one that I would watch. Like, I would always go see his films. I'm trying to think of someone else. I haven't even think of... Oh, non-American. Is that what he meant? Non-American? Is Nolan non-American? Nolan's a non-American. Who else do I like? Oh, I've always liked Ang Lee because he's Taiwanese, representing. Edward Wright. Edward Wright's another one I would pick definitely. Picking a lot of British guys. George Miller now for the Mad Max and stuff like that. So, anyhow, all right. Well, am I streaming in 24? I didn't set this up properly probably today because I am probably coming through 24, but I am streaming through 30. So I think my camera is set to 24 because I have it still set on what I shot some stuff on before. So technically it's not 30, but it is a 30 stream. Whatever, I don't care. It used to bug me that people would always like bitch and moan like, oh, you got to get your setup just right and blah, 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 blah. And it's all funky. And it's like, you know, whatever. I don't care anymore. I don't care. Favorite Tarantino movie? Probably still Pulp Fiction, I think. Well, no, Pulp Fiction is still, I think, better than anything else. That's probably the top. So... All right, guys. Well, I have to go get something to eat. I've been on here for an hour and a half, I believe. So thanks for hanging out with me here on this episode of whatever we're going to call this thing, live hanging out. I think we're going to try to do these we're trying to do them every Wednesday. I don't exactly know what time because I have to, depends on what's happening that Wednesday. Like I'm actually going to be setting up to do a lot of virtual graduations again this year. So I will be running around a lot in the coming weeks or so. So we may be doing these on off hours. But, yeah. Thanks for hanging out. We will have a new video out, I would say probably next week sometime, about streaming. And, yeah, we'll check you guys out later. Thanks for hanging out. See you later.